The wind howls across the open grasslands of the Central Asian steppe, carrying the scent of horses, sweat, and wood smoke. The air tastes wild, untamed. It's dawn, and you wake not in your soft bed, but beneath a yak fur blanket and a felt covered. Ger, the traditional round tent of a Mongol nomad. Your eyelids are sticky from cold. The fire in the center of the tent is nearly out, only the faintest warmth curling from the embers. You sit up, but your head brushes the wooden poles supporting the roof. There's no furniture, just hard floor, fur rugs, and the gurgling breath of the animals outside. Welcome to the Mongol Empire. It is the 13th century, and you are no guest. You are expected to work, fight, ride, and obey. You wouldn't last a day here. But let's see how far you'd get. Asterisk, you wake not to an alarm clock, but to the chilling slap of wind clawing at your tent, whistling through seams and flapping the felt with a hollow, rhythmic beat. A dim gray light seeps through the hide walls of the ger, the round Mongol tent you've somehow found yourself sleeping in. You've never woken up to complete silence before. No cars, no birds, not even footsteps. Just the whistle of the steppe wind, lonely and ageless, like the breath of time itself. But you don't have long to marvel. Your eyes sting from smoke. The fire at the center of the ger burned low in the night, leaving only faint embers pulsing beneath a pile of ash. Your breath forms clouds in the cold air. You reach instinctively for your phone, your slippers, a warm sweater. But none of those exist here. There are only furs, smoke, and the faint stench of horse sweat and fermented milk. Welcome to the Mongol Empire, 1215 AD. You try to sit up, your back aches. The fur bedding is rough. Something crunches under your shoulder. It might be bone. Probably not human, hopefully around you. Others are already stirring a boy no older than 10. A woman with strong, calloused hands, and 2 men wrapped in thick cloaks of wool and skin. Nobody speaks. There's no good morning. No greetings. The only sounds are snorting yaks outside and the heavy creak of leather as someone tightens their boots, and then you hear the horn, low, deep, and cold as winter. It cuts through the wind like a blade. That's the signal. The camp is moving today. You're still trying to shake off the cold when the woman presses something into your hands. A wooden bowl, steaming slightly. You look down and see a thick, white liquid, almost gelatinous in texture. It fizzes softly. IRAG, fermented Murray's milk. You raise it to your lips. The smell hits first sour, pungent, with a hint of something earthy and raw. You take a sip and immediately regret it. It's tart, nearly carbonated, with a strange creaminess that coats your tongue like chalk. Your stomach flips. But you force it down, not because you're brave, because everyone is watching. Refusing food is an insult. And in the Mongol Empire, insults aren't forgotten or forgiven. Outside the ger, the camp is already alive. Herds of horses, sheep, and camels are being rounded up by riders with expert skill. Tents are being dismantled, their wooden latticework frames collapsed and stacked. Oxen grunt under the weight of loaded carts. Children chase dogs. Dogs chase chickens. It's chaos, but organized chaos. A young man shouts something at you in Mongolian. You don't understand, so he repeats it louder this time. Then he waves you over and thrusts a bundle of ropes into your hands. You stare at it. He points toward a massive, woolly camel tied to a stake. Your job is to help load it. You've never seen a camel this close before. It snorts, turns, and eyes you with an expression that can only be described as ancient irritation. You step forward cautiously and immediately step in something soft and warm. No time to clean up. The young man shouts again and tightens a strap across the camels. Back, motioning for you to hand over the rope. You fumble. He glares. Within minutes, your hands are red and raw. Your arms ache, and you realize how soft your life back home really was. There are no gloves, no instructions, just expectation, and if you fail, you'll be seen as less than useless. Your only job is not to slow them down. That's it. As the morning wears on, you begin to notice how fast and efficient everything is. These people have moved like this hundreds of times. They carry their lives with them, their beds, homes, tools, weapons, livestock. Every single object is designed to be broken down, packed up, and transported by animal in under an hour. No cities. No roads, just grass, wind, and motion. A woman beside you folds an entire tent by herself, straps it to a cart, and hops onto a saddle like it's nothing. She's maybe 5'12" and built like a storm. Nearby, an old man sharpens a curved knife on a stone while humming softly. His boots are patched. His eyes are iced. The Mongol Empire isn't what you thought it was. It's not just war. It's survival through mastery. It's a culture born not from luxury, but from brutal necessity. And right now, you're failing it. You're still trying to adjust the straps on a pack goat when a boy no older than 7 laughs and untangles it in 5 seconds. Flat. He clicks his tongue, slaps the goat's side, and trots away. You just stand there, red-faced and aching. By midday, the camp begins to move. The horizon stretches forever. No trees, no buildings, just rolling grass and sky so big it swallows. The sun is brutal, sharp, and merciless, even in cold air. You sweat under your layers, then freeze when the wind picks up. Everyone rides. You're given a pony, short but sturdy. It doesn't like you. You don't blame it. You're told to ride in silence. The herders want to avoid attracting attention. You ask, from what? Nobody answers. But they don't need to. You spot a column of black smoke on the far horizon. A raid? A burning village? Hard to say. But the others ride a little faster after they see it. You don't ask again. Riding is its own punishment. The Mongols have grown up in saddles. They can eat, sleep, and shoot arrows from horseback. You, however, are bouncing with every step, your legs cramping and your lower back screaming. By the 3rd hour, you can't feel your feet. By the 4th, you pray for death. By the 5th, you realize they're not even slowing down. At one point, a rider beside you leans over and slices open a goatskin bladder, offering you a sip of water. It's warm, tastes like leather, and disappears down your throat in seconds. You want to thank him, but he's already galloped ahead. The air smells of dust, sweat, and animal dung. You're not just exhausted, you're shaken. Because somewhere along the ride it hits you. This is normal for them. This is nothing. By the time the camp halts, the sky is molting orange. Your thighs feel like bruised meat. Your hands are blistered. Your head spins, but there's no rest. The tents must go up again. The animals must be tethered, milked, and fed. A small fire is started using dried dung and flint. The same woman who handed you air now ladles out a thick, greasy stew made from boiled mutton, fat, and onions. You take a bite and nearly weep with gratitude. It's the first warm thing you've had all day. A group gathers to eat. They pass around dried cheese, black bread, and a few strips of dried horse meat. You chew in silence. Nobody speaks of the ride. Nobody complains. This is just life. This is a light day. A rider comes by and tosses you a bundle of rough wool. You're bedding. You're told to sleep close to the fire, but not too close. It might go out or catch your hair on fire. You lie there, staring at the stars that appear one by one. They're brighter here, hung in a velvet sky unmarred by city lights. The constellations feel older. You don't know their names anymore. As your eyelids grow heavy. You hear the distant howl of wolves and the sharper whistle of a watchman's call. The camp is surrounded by riders who'll take turns guarding through the night, because even here, in the heart of their empire, no one is ever truly safe. And you've survived your first day, but barely. Your body is broken. Your pride is gone. Your old life feels like fiction. The Mongol morning didn't just wake you, Dot. It punched you in the face and kept punching until you moved, wrote, packed, and obeyed. You close your eyes on a floor of wool and wood beneath stars that feel like they're watching. Tomorrow will be harder, but for now, sleep. You earned it. When you open your eyes, the sky is still dark, but not with the kind of darkness you're used to. Not city darkness. Not the glow of distant lamps or the hum of car engines down the street. This is real darkness, steppe darkness. A cold, unblinking vastness with only a faint hint of dawn seeping into the horizon. The silence is near complete, but not quite. You hear the low murmurs of waking animals, the creak of leather, the faint whisper of hooves stepping softly on frostbitten grass. Dot, you move, slowly, aching from yesterday. Your bones complain, your back is stiff, and every muscle from your thighs to your shoulders feels like it's been beaten with hammers. You didn't ride into battle yesterday. You didn't even ride far, but it feels like you've been dragged behind a horse for miles. Outside the gare, the world is stirring. You hear the snorting of horses and the steady rhythm of someone chopping. Ice. There's no real good morning here, just the work that needs doing. Always. The camp may have slept, but the horses never stop kneading. The hunger of the herd, your first job today, isn't to eat, Dot, it's to serve. You're pointed toward a line of ponies and handed a stiff, crude brush. One of the herdsmen says a word to you that sounds like a threat, but probably means groom. You nod and walk forward slowly. You've never stood this close to so many horses, real horses. Not the tall, showy ones from movies or racetracks. These Mongol ponies are stockier, hard as iron, and watch you with the sharp suspicion of creatures who have survived too many winters. The first one you approach, gray with a scar down its cheek, snorts and stomps its hoof. You freeze. The herdsman laughs behind you. You try again, reaching up with the brush. Its hair is matted, dirty, and smells of sweat and smoke. Your fingers are already numb from cold, and the brush handle bites into your blistered palms. You scrub anyway, because the horse's hunger isn't just food. It's movement, purpose, cleanliness, familiarity. Mongols believe a well-tended horse is as important as a well-fed man. And they're right. The feast you don't want after the horses are brushed, watered, and walked to graze. Your stomach finally grumbles loud enough for someone to hear. A bowl is thrust into your hands by a young boy with eyes older than yours. Dot. It's breakfast. You peer inside. Today's offering is a thick curdled milk porridge, speckled with chunks of dried cheese and a few floating yellowish bits you can't identify. It smells sour again. This time, though, you don't hesitate. You've learned the first rule of the steppe. Don't insult the food. Don't waste it. Don't ask questions. You gulp it down, wincing as something rubbery slides past your throat. A second bowl is passed. This one, warm mutton broth with sinew, bone fragments, and something that might be goat fat. Dot. It's heavy, greasy, comforting in a way, and it disappears too quickly because you're hungrier than you've ever been. And yet, the horses eat first. Dot. Always. Dot. Blood and milk, the sacred fluids after breakfast. You're taken to a smaller pen where several Mare horses are being tied for milking. Dot. Yes, dash horses. Dot. You hesitate, but the herder waves you over. He motions to the teats. You understand. You kneel unsure and try to mimic what he's doing. You squeeze awkwardly. Milk drips out. You do it again. Faster, more comes. You're milking a horse. This isn't a punishment. It's an honor. Horse milk isn't just for drinking. It's the base of arag, turned into cheese and used in rituals. It's sacred, rich, and unforgiving if handled poorly. The herder watches you closely. You get the rhythm. And after several attempts, he grunts. It's the closest you'll get to approval. Nearby, Another man uses a thin-tipped arrowhead to pierce the neck vein of a horse, just a shallow cut. Blood flows into a wooden bowl where it's mixed with milk and herbs. You stare. They're not hurting the horse. They're sharing with it. In the winter, horse blood mixed with warm milk is a life-saving soup, packed with iron, heat, and strength. Mongols drink it without flinching. You're handed the bowl. You sip. It tastes of iron and warmth. You say nothing, because suddenly you understand. You're a part of the herd now. The wolves in the grass around midday. Shouts ripple through camp. A scout has returned mud-caked, breathless, his pony streaked with sweat. Everyone gathers. There's no town crier. No scroll. Just words passed by voice, one person to another, until even you hear it. A rival clan likely. Turkic has been seen skirting the southern grazing routes. A horse has gone missing. Perhaps more. This isn't just gossip. This is war talk. And in the Mongol Empire, war doesn't wait for votes. It doesn't come with speeches or parchment declarations. It comes on hooves. A taste of war, the kashai. A small unit of warriors from your camp is formed within minutes. Leather armor is strapped on, bows checked. Arrows counted. Into your surprise, Tadic. The herdsman who scowled at you yesterday waves you over. You're not being asked to fight. You're being told to ride with them, to observe, to carry supplies, to watch how real warriors move. You don't want to go, but you don't say no. You're handed a saddlebag of dried meat, a few spare bowstrings, and an extra quiver. Then you're told to mount up. You climb into the saddle. Your legs already ached at the moment your horse begins to trot. Your body begs for mercy, but you go anyway. Because out here, hesitation is death. Riders of the plain, the small band 20 riders cuts. Across the plains like an arrow, they speak in low tones, but they ride with their eyes forward, scanning the horizon. You struggle to keep up. Every bounce of the saddle jars your spine. Your thighs burn. You try to drink from your water skin. You drop it. A boy behind you catches it in midair, drinks from it, and tosses it back. No words. Just motion, you realize. Then these people aren't born to ride. They're forged by it. They ride with their knees, fire with their toes, sleep in the saddle if they must, and then you see it Kalan smoke. Thin, rising behind a hill. Tadic raises a fist. The rider's slow. Silence. Falls. Contact. You don't see the enemy. Not fully. Just flashes. 3 men on ponies. 2 leading a stolen horse. They spot your group and immediately wheel around. Tadic raises his bow, lets it fly. The arrow sings past your ear and strikes the fleeing horse in the haunch. It stumbles. The others fire. Within seconds, the raiders are fleeing, dodging, scattering like birds. One falls. The rest vanish into the horizon. The whole skirmish takes less than 2 minutes. And your heart doesn't stop racing for an hour. Aftermath. Horse is recovered. The fallen raider is stripped of weapons and left behind. No mourning. No ritual. You return to camp with your hands trembling. You didn't fight. You barely saw anything, and yet you feel like something inside you has shifted. You've glimpsed the true face of this empire. Not grand courts or golden palaces, but a coat of steel, bone, and speed. The 5th hunger back in camp. The warriors are welcomed with nods, not cheers. The horse is tied. The saddle returned. The children listen silently as the story is told. Briefly, no glory. Just facts. You sit by the fire that evening, bowl of stew in your hands. You watch Tadic pass a strip of dried meat to a boy without speaking. The boy bows and runs to his. Mother. There is warmth here. Not comfort, but strength. Everyone is hungry here. But not just for food, for freedom, for space, for survival. For tomorrow. You lie down later with the wind howling outside. Your eyes open, staring at the ceiling of the ger. You feel your heartbeat slowing. Not because you're relaxed, but because you're becoming like them. A little hungry, hard, enduring. It begins not with swords or blood, but with a look. A glance, really. Barely a blink. But one that carries generations of weight. Two men are arguing near the horse pens. You notice it while chewing a strip of dried mutton. One gestures sharply. The other steps closer. Their tones aren't loud, but they slice the air like knives. No one intervenes. Not the elders, not the herdsmen, not the warriors. Children watch. Women keep working, and you hold your breath. You've only been here 3 days. But already you've learned, in the Mongol Empire, violence isn't the breakdown of society, it's part of the language that holds it. Together, it's direct, efficient, stripped of drama, and it always says exactly what needs to be said. Coat sharpened on steel, the two men square off in silence. One spits on the ground. The other unslings the short curved knife from his belt. It's not a sword. It's not even a full fight, just a single motion. A flash of movement. A grunt. One drops to the dirt, holding his shoulder. Blood seeps through his robe. No one cheers. No one panics. The injured man stands slowly, teeth clenched. The other sheathes his blade and walks off. Someone hands the bleeding man a strip of cloth. He presses it to the wound, then limps away. You don't hear about it again. There's no trial. No punishment. No gossip. You ask Tonic, what happened? He shrugs. He took something. He paid. That's it. No words wasted. Violence is punctuation. And in the Mongol world, brevity is survival. What justice means here, you think of justice as courts, lawyers, evidence, but here, justice is immediate, intimate, and irrevocable. The empire has laws, strict ones, actually. The yasa, a code of rules issued by Genghis Khan himself, covers everything from horse theft to adultery to how much food must be offered to a traveler. But these aren't laws that live on paper. They live in memory, passed mouth to mouth, like legend and threat combined. Break one? There is no courtroom, there's punishment. Swift, public, and absolute. You'll learn about the Yasif that evening. By the fire, a rider named Beryl tells you the story of a man who once lied about a kill during a hunt. Said he brought down a deer when it was really another hunter's arrow that struck first. The punishment? Execution. Because lying breaks trust. And in war, trust is survival. You ask, even for a lie that small? Beryl nods. Small lie, big hole. Whole tribe falls in. Another story. A woman stole cheese from another family's cart during migration. Her fingers were cut off. Not out of cruelty, but because if someone steals food in a famine, others may starve. And the ultimate crime? Disobedience to the Khan. Beryl doesn't finish the story. He just draws a finger across his throat. The violence of the everyday violence here doesn't always mean blood. Sometimes it's built into the daily rhythm. It's in the cracking of whips over pack animals. The sharp discipline of children expected to ride, sow, skin, and defend by age 7. It's in the way warriors train by shooting birds from horseback with blunt arrows, and how missing the mark 3 times results in public humiliation. Even fun is edged with aggression. You watch a group of boys playing a game with ankle bones of sheep, flicking them across a square board with fierce concentration. One loses a round and is immediately tackled by the others, his face rubbed in the dirt while they laugh. Not cruelly, just competitively. You're starting to realize survival has no room for softness. Even kindness is carved from stone. A duel. In the wind 2 nights later, the camp is calm until it isn't. A returning patrol brings word. A rider from another clan insulted one of your camp's warriors, publicly, loudly, at a watering hole used by both groups. That rider will arrive tomorrow to settle it. Not with armies. Not with sabotage. With a duel. The next day, the wind is vicious. It whips across the plains like a curse. The two riders meet just after dawn. No crowd, no trumpets, no pomp. Just warriors, horses in the cold. Each carries a curved saber, single-edged. And polished by wear. They don't say a word to each other. The terms are known. Agreed upon, accepted. They circle once, twice, then charge dot it. Ends in 10 seconds. The first rider lashes out, misses. The second rider pulls to the side, loops his reins with one hand, and strikes low across the other's thigh. Blood sprays. Wounded man doesn't fall. He just lowers his blade and dismounts, limping into the grass. He lost. He walks away. No one follows him. He'll recover, and he won't speak the insult again. You realize your heart is racing. You weren't expecting to feel impressed. It was fast, clean. Final dot, no lawyers. No social media. No, he said, she said. Just skill dot and the truth of blades dot, what violence really does here. That night, an elder tells you something unexpected. Violence is not for chaos, he says. It is for balance. You blink, but it's brutal. He nods, so is fire. But it cooks meat, so is snow. But it gives water. You ask, doesn't it hurt your people? He stares into the fire. We are not people like yours. We are a different kind. And it's true. They don't see violence as breakdown. It's a tool, like fire, like brain, like iron dot. It keeps things honest dot in here. Honesty is survival dot, the violence you didn't see coming the next morning. The herds are gone, not all of them. Just 24 sheep and 6 ponies dot, stolen in the night dot tracks. Say it wasn't wolves dot, it was men dot the elders. Speak quickly. A patrol is formed, not to chase, not yet. First, they gather intelligence. A young scout is sent ahead, fast and alone. He'll return in 2 days dot. In the meantime, the rest of you prepare. Weapons are oiled, bows strung. Arrows counted, even children. Begin practicing with slings and jawbones. Women sharpen knives. Food is portioned. Bags are packed dot. The whole camp becomes a breathing machine of readiness. You ask Beryl, will there be war? He shrugs. Maybe a lesson. And you know now what that means dot. Sometimes a lesson is taught with arrows. You understand too much. Now you can feel it happening. Your thoughts are changing. You don't flinch when blades are drawn. You understand why someone was punished for stealing. You catch yourself thinking, yes, they had to do that dot, and then it hits you. You're becoming like them, not fully. Not yet, that the rhythms of the old world are seeping into your bones. Violence isn't shocking now dot, it's just necessary dot. You lie awake that night with your blade close. The scout will return soon, and when he does, the storm will come. The scout returns at dawn dot. His horse is lathered in sweat, foam dripping from its jaws. His face is scraped, eyes bloodshot, and his voice when it comes is barely more than a rasp. But the message he brings hits like thunder. The thieves belong to a lesser clan allied with the Shi'ed, one of Genghis Khan's oldest enemies, and they're not just thieves. They're scouts, probes, testing the edge of this camp's defenses. War is coming, but before the first arrow is loosed or sword drawn, something deeper begins to shift. You can feel it in the way the children stop laughing, in the way the firewood is stuck tighter, in the silence of the evening meals, in the sudden appearance of men you haven't seen before, riders, tough, sunburnt, their hair braided in old patterns, their cloaks darker, their weapons shinier. These aren't herdsmen. They're part of something bigger, something that moves. In shadows, the whisper of the cane later that day, a messenger arrives. He doesn't dismount. He simply rides into the center of camp, unfurls a black lacquered tube, and begins reading in a clear, practiced voice dot. It's a declaration, not of war. Of intention dot from the Khan's court itself. Your camp is now under imperial authority. Anyone who resists aiding in the retaliation to this insult will be marked traitor. You look around and see no one is shocked. In the Mongol world. Everything land, air, blood, name belongs to the Khan. You don't own your sword. You borrow it from his will. You don't drink from the river. You sit by his mercy. You exist here because the Khan hasn't told the world to crush you yet. And now, he speaks, the call to muster that evening. Preparations shift from quiet murmurs to full mobilization. Dozens of riders arrive from other clans. Campfires multiply. Smoke thickens. Warriors trade stories and sharpen blades. You hear songs that don't rhyme, only chant half melody, half prayer. One man has 5 bows strapped to his back. Another carries an iron hook the size of your forearm. Smeared with animal fat, there's no uniform, no flags. But the organization is terrifying. This isn't a mob. It's a machine made of men. You're handed a list painted, unhide with supplies to gather. 10 days of dried meat, 12 bundles of horse feed, 2 spare bowstrings, 4 fires starting. Kits, a single red cloth. The cloth isn't for wiping sweat. It's for identifying bodies. You don't ask where yours is supposed to go. Training for the kill. You don't get to sit back and watch. You're drafted into logistics, hauling water, repairing saddles, cutting firewood, and assisting with mount care. But every spare moment is spent watching the riders train. They don't just ride, they float. They don't shoot standing still, they shoot at full gallop. Backwards, sideways. Blindfolded. You see one rider loose 3 arrows before your eyes can even track the first. They leap from their ponies, duck under them, shoot from underneath, remount on the run. It's not combat. It's art, and the canvas is death. Bayan returns. You hadn't seen Bayan. Todek's older brother for days. Now he's back, but he's not alone. He brings a group of 10 silent, sunburned warriors, none of whom speak unless directly addressed. You learn quickly these are Kashik, the elite imperial guards, chosen personally by the Khan, deadly, loyal, invisible when needed. They set up camp on the far edge. Do not join songs, do not barter. They exist on the fringe like spirits wearing skins. You ask Todek, why are they here? He doesn't answer, but his eyes say, we're not raiding a village. We're sending a message. The language of that message, it begins with smoke. Not from your camp, but from theirs. A pre-dawn scout returns again. The Takeshid raiders about 30 of them have lit their own campfires in full view. On a hill overlooking a sacred, grazing root. It's deliberate. An insult. And a challenge. The response is swift. The ride you ride with a column, not in front. Not as a warrior, but as a body, an extra pair of hands. A witness to what happens when the Mongol war engine rolls. Your mount, by now, is less wild. It knows the rhythm. You bounce and sync. The army is not thousands, only a few hundred men, but they move like water. No banners. No drums. No horns. Just breath, dust, hooves, and the cold. Always the cold. The attack isn't an attack, it's a whisper. They don't ride in screaming. They wait. Circle. Split into 5 units. Arrows already knocked. From afar, it looks like riders out for a hunt. And then the sky hisses. Arrows arc in volleys. So perfect they could be measured with string. You see chaos below. The Taeshiad scream. Try to mount. Too late. A second volley. A third. By the time your unit approaches, the raiders are already broken. You don't hear war cries. You hear commands and whispers. You don't see brutality. You see efficiency. 1. Man is spared. He's on his knees, bleeding, young, no more than 20. The Kashyyyks surround him. Todek steps forward. A moment passes. Then he speaks a sentence you don't understand. The man nods. Then, quietly, he slits his own throat. No one cheers. You turn away, bile rising. Beryl appears beside you. That was mercy. He says, you don't reply. Aftermath, there are no spoils. The horses are taken. The body is burned. The survivor's gear is returned to your camp to be cleaned, cataloged, redistributed. There is no plundering. No drunken celebration, only precision. And silence. The Mongol army isn't an army in the way you know it. It's a weather system. When it moves, it changes the landscape, then disappears. Return to camp. You arrive after sunset. Food is passed, wounds cleaned, stories exchanged in low tones. You sit alone for a long while, staring at the fire. You think of the man with the red cloth, a horse that bled, the boy who watched his brother fall and said nothing. You think of Genghis Khan, not as a tyrant, but as a force, like ice, like fire, like thunder. And you realize something dangerous. You don't hate this world anymore. You understand it. Maybe too well. The wind changed. No announcement, no fanfare. Just a slow, steady shift from sharp to savage. The kind of cold that doesn't sting, it crushes. It doesn't brush against your skin. It sinks through you, curling into your lungs and anchoring in. Your rebs, the warriors of the steppe, don't speak of it in poetry. They don't call it beautiful. They don't even name it, because naming it would give it power. You've survived war, fire, bleeding, hooves and arrows like rain, but none of that matters now, because winter has arrived, and in the Mongol Empire, this is when the world decides who lives and who's simply not strong enough. A white curtain draws across the steppe. The first snowfall is light, a scattering across the plains, a dusting on felt roofs. The horses snort and shake it from their manes, but everyone feels it. The elders glance at the horizon. The dogs stop barking. The goats huddle tighter. You hear more creaking in the gears at nightwood and rope adjusting to the creeping freeze. That evening, the women begin sewing wool padding into the inner walls of the gears. Extra felt is draped across the smoke hole. The fires are stoked higher. Meat is rationed harder. You don't hear it said aloud, but you see it in every gesture. The time of dying has begun. The frozen routine. Your body has never known this kind of fatigue. You thought riding through battles and hauling gear was hard, but winter on the steppe redefines suffering. Every morning, you wake to ice in your nostrils and the sound of cracking hides as the gear settles into stiffness. You rise in. Layers fur on wool on leather. Still, your fingers go numb in minutes. Your boots, if left too close to the wall, freeze solid. Your breath crystallizes before it leaves your mouth. Outside, everything groans. Horses shuffle miserably. Sheep huddle like living carpets. The dogs bark less. The sun is weak. The wind is not. Every task gathering firewood, cutting ice for water. Cleaning the livestock takes 3 times as long. And your energy? It drains like blood from a wound. The hunger that comes next you, think you've been hungry before. You haven't. This is different. This is slow starvation, wrapped in discipline. There's food, but not enough. No one complains. Complaining is a waste of warmth. You are given a bowl of stew one evening that contains only broth and fat scraps. No meat, no roots. Just salted grease and floating sinew. You eat it because the elders didn't eat at all. You hear someone whisper about a cousin who froze mid-ride, delivering dried meat to another camp. He simply stopped moving. They found him still upright, hands locked on the reins, eyes wide, horse breathing steam beneath a frozen corpse. No one cries. They just add more wood to the fire. What you'll buzz. Due to stay warm, fire is gold now. You gather dung from the livestock pens, frozen into hard bricks. Stack it, dry it, burn it. You crush frozen bones into powder to mix with boiling broth. It warms the gut. You share sleeping mats with 2 others. You no longer notice the smell. One night, a child crawls into your blanket bundle uninvited. Don't protest. Warmth is more valuable than pride. The trial of the herds, but the greatest challenge isn't inside the GER. It's the herd. Livestock equals life. If the sheep die, the clan dies. And the winter has come hard and early. Snowdrifts now cover the grazing plains. Ice crusts over rivers. The horses still too. Important to lose, must be walked. Constantly. You're ordered to help. That morning, the wind carves your face like glass. Your eyelashes freeze together. You trudge beside 100 sheep, pushing them forward through waist-high snow. Your feet numb, lips cracked, nose bleeding. One sheep collapses. You move to help. Todok stops you. No, he says. Too slow. Dad, wait. You hesitate. The sheep blinks slowly. Frost forming on its wool. You walk on. It doesn't rise again. You understand. Now, mercy is death. The days become monochrome time blurs. There is no color. Just white, gray, black smoke, red fingers. Yellow fire. You forget the calendar. You forget your name sometimes. Just move. Eat, shiver, walk, gather, sleep. And hope you don't feel a deeper cold tomorrow. Because if you do, you won't wake. Then someone does not wake. It happens quietly. An elder. The same one who taught you how to bind a torn saddle with wet sinew. Who told stories of the time the Khan's horse outran a lightning storm. He simply doesn't rise. Wrapped in wool. Face peaceful. Body already stiff. There's no funeral. The body is wrapped. Taken outside. Left on a high ridge with a handful of beads and a carved knife. Sky burial. Return to the wind. You say nothing, because death isn't remarkable. Here. Only warmth is. One night, the gare nearly collapses. The storm comes suddenly. Screaming wind. A sudden crack of frozen poles. You wake to smoke filling the tent. Flames licking the felt roof from a collapsed beam. You and 3 others scramble to extinguish it with blankets. Piss, snow dash, anything. By dawn, the fire is out, but the damage is done. The roof is half collapsed. It's 20 below. And the only way to survive is to cram into another family's gare. You do it. You sleep chest to back with 8 bodies. You smell breath, smoke, fear, old sweat. It's the warmest sleep you've had in weeks. Then comes the ice fog, not snow. Not wind. Fog. Thick, choking, freezing fog that rolls in like a ghost army. You can't see your own hands. Sound vanishes. It's said the fog steals thoughts. You believe it because you wander for 10 minutes from the gare to piss, and suddenly you forget where you are. You're walking in circles. The cold is in your skull now. Not just your skin. You start laughing, then coughing, then panicking. Until a rope hits your face. One of the women tied it from the gare. Entrance to a post. You grab it like a lifeline. She pulls you in. She doesn't speak. Just hands you a bowl of hot irg. You drink. Cry, she says softly. Fog takes the slow. The cold begins taking the children. You awake one morning and hear it. A scream. Not of panic. But of despair. One of the children, 4 winters old, has died in the night, frozen her sleep. Despite furs. Despite being between 2 bodies, the mother does not weep. She just rocks back and forth. Her teeth are clenched. You hear someone behind you whisper, "Too many mouths." You don't know if it's a justification or a prayer, or both. Then the wolves come, not men. Wolves. Real ones. Driven down from the high hills by hunger. Their eyes glow like coals at the edge of the herds at night. The warriors mount up. Not in anger, but in respect. Wolves are enemies worth fighting. They steal food. They kill sheep. They cast fences. They don't negotiate. One morning, the riders return with pelts, but they don't cheer, because the wolves took 5 sheep and a calf before dying. Your camp lost, and yet they smile. You don't understand it at first. How can they still laugh? How can they play music, dance around the fire, make jokes? One night, after a successful hunt, you see it. They gather. A woman sings. An old man slaps his belly. and tells a ridiculous story about a goose who married a horse. They laugh. The children dance shoeless, shrieking, spinning dot, and then you get it. A cold cannot be beaten, but it can be mocked, and to laugh in the face of the worst season the earth can offer. That's victory. You wouldn't last a day, you. Look back on who you were before. You realize now, it's not the blood or the battles that would have killed you, Dot. It's the silence. The endless, grinding, colorless hours of keeping warm. Of losing. People. Of never expecting help. Of being part of a world that only values what you can carry, build, endure, or save, Dot. And in this world, if you can't do those things, you are left behind, Dot. No judgment, Dot. No cruelty, Dot. Just forgotten, but you're still here. Breathing, walking, enduring, which means tomorrow. You rise again, because the Mongol Empire doesn't care who you were, only who you choose to become. When the wind rises and the cold starts to speak. Winter dies slowly, Dot, not with birdsong. Not with blossoms, Dot, just with mud. Frozen snow becomes slush. Ice becomes brown soup underfoot. The ground sags. The gears sweat. Your boots squelch, Dot, and then one morning, there are flies, Dot, not many. Just a few. But the elders see them, smell them, feel them in the air, Dot, and suddenly everything changes. Because in the Mongol Empire, spring doesn't mean flowers. It means war, Dot, and war means movement, Dot, and movement means you're no longer a guest here. You're part of something far bigger than survival. No, you're part of conquest. The Council of Smoke and Ironet begins with a circle, Dot, no thrones. No chambers. Just a ring of mounted warriors, war chiefs, scouts, and elders drawn together by messenger, firelight, and oath. Dot. At the center stands Ban, flanked by two grim-faced men wearing black sashes. You recognize them from stories whispered in the Gare, 2 men commanders, leaders of 10,000 horsemen each. Eyes like winter rivers. Fingers always twitching. Bayn speaks not of border skirmishes, but of cities. Real cities. Stone cities. Places with walled. Samarkand, Bukhara, Merv, Nishapur. Silk Road outposts fat with gold. Culture, arrogance, and the false belief that stone walls can stop hooves. You listen. You hear the word campaign. You hear Karakoram, the capital of the empire, has given the order. You hear that the sons of Genghis ride again, and that now. So will you? The unseen mobilization, there's no official declaration of war. Only movement. One camp breaks. Then another. Then another. You don't see armies gather. You see dots on the horizon, merging into waves. Thousands of gears vanish overnight. Men test bows, melt coins into arrowheads. Train with lassos tipped with knives. Oxen are yoked. Weapons packed in bone cases. Meat dried over smoky fires until it becomes hard as stone. You're assigned to a baggage unit. 3 carts. 40 horses. 30 days of supplies. And 1 terrifying commander. Karzul, the laughless. He gives orders with his eyebrows and watches. You like you're a walking liability. The first death is an in battle on the 2nd day of March. A young boy slips crossing a half-frozen stream. His pony goes down. Leg snapped. Supplies lost. Karzul gives a single hand signal. The horse is put down immediately. A knife to the spine. No ceremony. No grief. But the boy? He cries, not from pain, from shame. You learn something then. In the Mongol army, failure is punished with silence, and that silence is worse than any scream. The army that doesn't exist, you expected columns, you expected banners, drums, steel glinting in the sun. What you get is ghosts. The Mongol army doesn't move in blocks, it moves in threads. Weaving across the land in non-linear paths. 5 men here. 10 there. 100 somewhere unseen. Messengers ride between them like bees. No one ever yells. No one ever waits. You don't know where the center is. There is no center dot. There is only the Khan's will, stretching across the steppe like a weather pattern. And you, a raindrop in the storm dot. Then comes the bone road on the 15th day of travel. You crest a ridge and see it, a long, winding scar in the earth, bleached white, scattered with ribs, skulls, femurs, bones dot dozens dot hundreds dot too old to smell, too scattered to bury. Tadic, riding beside you now as a companion rather than a master, mutters in the Shaper's tribute. You ask nothing, because you understand this isn't just a road dot, it's a message, and it's written in a language that even cities can't ignore dot first contact. The traders 3 days later, you reach a silka road outpost. No walls, just stalls, traders, women in robes like rivers, coins clinking in the wind dot, and eyes, hundreds of eyes, watching your dust street. Cold-eyed calm approach dot. The merchants don't run. They know better. They bow. They offer gifts, bolts of silk, cured meats, glass beads, maps dot. The Mongols accept, but leave nothing behind except rules. You will not lie. You will not hide tribute. You will not resist if the Khan asks for more. The trader's lips tremble, but he nods dot. He understands something too. The only way to survive the Mongols is to believe they aren't real, because if you look too long, you'll realize they are exactly what they seem dot. At the city gates, you reach your first true target, Ochar, not a village, not an outpost, a city dot with walls, watchtowers, soldiers, bells. You ride past tents sprouting like mushrooms in the distance, temporary Mongol camps, engineers in fur, scouts scribbling maps in dirt, cartographers measuring wind dot. No horns dot. No war cries dot. Just planning. You're not part of the assault team. You're assigned to the siege crew. You help unpack. Chinese-made trebuchets carried across continents dot. You watch oxen drag logs soaked in pitch. You hear whispers of gunpowder casks, a gift from Persian chemists. You realize this isn't a barbarian horde. This is modern warfare, and the cities of the world are living in the past. Siege. Without mercy, it begins before dawn. The city wakes to a whistle in the sky, then a thud, then a fireball, then a scream, then 10 more. Stone, fire, noise, smoke, again, again, again. Dot. The walls crack on day 3, a breach on day 6. The city falls on day 9 dot, and then silence until the execution begins. Why cities fear the Mongols? You don't enter the city. You smell it. You hear it dot. It's not a massacre for rage dot. It's policy. Ochar resisted. So it becomes a story dot. Something for the next city to remember. You're told the rivers ran red. You're told the minarets were torn down. You're told every soldier was executed, every child taken, every scholar silenced, not because they were evil, because they said no dot. And in this empire, no is a death sentence. The road continues. The army moves again. New cities, new scouts, new maps dot. You ride in a blur, now skin cracked, lungs dry, heart slowly learning to accept horror as a daily thing. You don't flinch at burning temples. You don't ask why the bakers were killed. You don't speak when the engineers drown a village by diverting a river dot. You are not one of them, but you are no longer one of us. You're something in between, a witness, a shadow, a borrowed ghost on the road of conquest. You realize why you wouldn't last, not because of the hunger dot, not the pain, or the cold, or the blood dot. It's the certainty. The Mongols have no doubt about who they are, about what they want, about how far they'll go to get it. You still look for reasons. They only look for targets. You've seen cities burn. You've slept beside warlords. You've tasted blood in the wind, fire in the air, and silence so absolute it could smother gods. But something in you is cracking now dot. Not from fear, not from violence dot. From realization. You're No longer watching the Mongol Empire. You're inside it, unlike a lung that never exhales, like a shadow that forgets it has light behind it. You can't find a way out. So you do the unthinkable. You start asking questions. It begins with a whisper. You're helping pack up camp after the siege of Nishbur. Your fingers are numb, your throat dry from days of smoke and ash. You hear your name spoken quietly behind you, your real name, the one from before, a traitor you met weeks ago. Casual, thin, quiet, always wrapping his words in laughter. He leans close. They say there's a caravan heading west, Persia, maybe even further. You could vanish into it. You don't answer. Just stare at him. He shrugs. You're not one of them. You're still... He hesitates, then finishes, curious. It's the kindest insult you've heard in months. A plan that doesn't exist. You begin noticing things differently now. The gaps in patrol. The routes taken by supply wagons. The moments when your absence wouldn't be noticed. You don't sleep much. Don't speak much. You're not even sure you believe in escape anymore. Because here's the truth. No one leaves the Mongol Empire. Not because they can't. Because they forget what else could possibly exist. The first step, it happens during a night watch change. Karzul's drunk rare. But tonight he celebrated a promotion. His men are singing. You slip from the tent edge, hugging the shadows. Your horse is already packed. You loaded it under the pretense of moving rations. You ride without reins, no noise. Just hooves whispering on dust. Northwest. Toward Persia. Toward stories. Toward something that feels like choice. The chase begins on day 3. You knew they'd come, but not this fast. You spot the first shadow on a ridge at sunrise, just a flicker. Then another. And another. Hunters. Not scouts. Not warriors. Kahesh. The personal hand of the Khan. You're not important enough to warrant them. So why are they here? The answer is as cold as it is simple. It's not about who you are. It's about what you represent. A leak, a question, a thread that could unravel. A tapestry, and they're here to cut the thread. You try to hide it works. For a night, you cover your tracks. Leave false trails. Travel only by darkness. You drink from frozen streams. Eat stale rations. Speak to no one. You remember the Mongol scouts' teachings. Walk backward in sand. Wrap horse hooves in cloth. Use fire only underground. You do. Everything right. But they still find you. The confrontation. They don't surround you. They don't yell. They just appear. 3 riders. Faces wrapped. Eyes like smoke. One carries a black bow. Another. A single red sash. A sign of internal duty. The last is Bayan. He dismounts slowly. You expected anger. What you get is disappointment. He doesn't draw his blade. He just says, why? You don't answer, because you don't know. Not anymore. A choice is offered to your shock. Bayan doesn't kill you. He gives you 3 options. Return. Take the punishment. Be watched forever. Keep running. Die alone, far from any fire. Take the red sash. Serve the can not as a warrior, but as a whisper. A spy. Because now you know both worlds. And in their eyes, that makes you valuable or dangerous. You choose nothing. You say nothing. Just stare. Van nods once. He turns. They ride. Away. They leave you alive, but not safe. Because now every shadow you see, every gust of wind, every quiet fire at night, you wonder, are they watching? You keep moving. You reach a river. Cross into Persian lands. They speak new languages here. Wear new robes. Build with brick instead of mud. You try to explain where you've come from. No one believes you. They laugh when you say you lived with Mongols and lived. They call you mad. Or liar. Or cursed. You stop telling the story, but you don't stop waking up screaming. What the Empire took your hunger. Your softness. Your sense of right and wrong. Replace them with clarity. You know how to kill. How to ride without sleep. how to track wind, how to dress wounds with ash and silk, how to listen to trees, how to break a man with silence. You walk with eyes open wider than others. You look at cities and see weakness now. You look at kings and wonder how long they'll last. You're not one of them anymore, but you're not you either. You meet another one like you, years pass, a fire, a wine jug, a story shared down another traveler scarred. Silent mentions the steppe. You stare. He nods. Neither of you say the word Mongol, but you know it's in the way he watches the fire die before it fades. It's in the way he eats with discipline. Not hunger. It's in his hands, calloused not from farming, but from riding 1,000 leagues without stopping. You share no more than 20 words, but when he leaves, you bow. And he bows deeper. So why wouldn't you last a day? Because you'd ask too many questions, because you'd wait for permission, because you'd hesitate, because you'd think you have time, because you'd confuse mercy for strength, because you'd believe you were still yourself. The Mongol Empire doesn't kill that version of you. It absorbs it, hollows it, reforges it, and when it's done, you're not sure if what's left is even human. But it survives. And sometimes, just sometimes, it dreams of hooves in the night. The wind returns at night. Not cold, not cruel, just constant. It whispers across the plains, over the burned cities, the forgotten bones, the tracks of hooves long since erased by time. You're far from the steppe now. The fires are different. The languages are softer. The cities tell themselves they are safe, but you know something they don't. You know that somewhere, across some forgotten ridge, beyond some dry horizon, there are still writers, and they don't sleep the way others do. They don't rest. They don't retire. They remember. Because in the Mongol Empire, history isn't written in ink, it's burned into the land. So when the wind rattles your window, at night, when you dream of hooves thundering over stone, when your breath catches and your chest tightens, maybe you're not remembering the Mongols. Maybe they're remembering you. Sleep well, if you can.